Hello, my name is Albert Liu, and a special welcome to all of those of you who are planning to attend the 2017 Sprott Symposium on Natural Resources. I'm sitting down with Rick Rule, who is the CEO of Sprott US Holdings, but has also been the host of this conference for several years now, and we're going to talk about this conference from the context of the attendee and how the attendee can get the most out of this experience. Rick, thanks for joining me once again.
Pleasure, Albert. Thank you.
I re-watched a video that you did with Tekoa back in 2015, and in that video you were breaking down the different aspects of conference attendance and how someone could make the most of it. And I thought it was very important just highlighting it. Of course, I'm going to link to this in the video so people can go back and watch this again. But very basically, it seems like it's very important to have a goal, and it's very important to have a plan. And that's sort of the way I approach conferences, although not to this extent, in the sense of the rigor that you approach it. But is that how you see it? Going with a goal, going with a plan?
Absolutely. People who come to the conference are going to spend money, first of all, to attend, sort of a cover charge to be at the conference. And they're also going to spend 4 or 5 days of their life and travel there. You're going to have a substantial investment in this conference. Make sure you get a return on the investment. We, as conference sponsors, will do our very best to assist you in the sense that, as an example, for us, exhibitors aren't just advertisers, they're content too. Attendees have told us that the fact that we own every exhibitor in the exhibit hall is important to them. Understand that in prior years, the exhibitors taken as a whole have substantially outperformed the Junior Mining Stock Index in the succeeding year. So understand that you're involved in what is for you as an investor a target-rich environment. So by all means, take advantage of that. Go there, work hard, apply the knowledge, and make money.
And you know, part of the benefit actually comes even before the conference begins. I've quoted you recently as saying 80% of the companies in this space have no value. And just by narrowing the field to 50 or 60 exhibitors, you've already provided a great service to the people.
That is true. We believe that of the 2,000 some odd junior resource companies that are public worldwide, fully 1,600 have no value whatsoever. So you have a remaining universe of 400 or 500 public companies that we've narrowed to 60. It doesn't mean that every exhibitor in the exhibit hall is going to increase in share price over the succeeding year. What it means is that we know the companies well enough that we've invested our money in them, which is a critical differentiator between us and other conferences.
I've heard you say this before, and now as I'm kind of participating in the organizing of this conference, I can vouch personally that there is a lot of interest, and not everyone gains admission in terms of exhibitors. Not that I didn't believe you, but I'm seeing it firsthand myself this year.
I suspect we refuse 3 or 4 applications for every one we take.
As far as people attending, you have the speakers on the one hand and you have the exhibitors on the other. So you tell people, research the speakers in advance and think about the questions that you would like to have answered.
That's absolutely critical. You get out of this what you put into it. And if you know ahead of time something about what you intend to get out of it, you will do a much better job. If there are speakers here you aren't particularly interested in, X them out of the program. Spend that time productively. If there are people who you are interested in, don't just go to their presentation, go to their workshops, which are much more intimate. If they're putting on lunches, go to the lunches. And try and determine exactly what it is that you want to get from them. If they don't cover it, ask them the questions. The speakers that we have are all very accessible, including the keynote speakers.
Right, and we should add this year, James Rickards coming back, David Stockman joining us. It's going to be a fabulous time. And I found in the past, James has been very accessible, and I imagine David will be as well. Now, also you say research the exhibitors, and you encourage people to ask them questions that they might not like to be asked all the time. Tough questions.
Well, I think that's right. The exhibitors or their public relations people have a sort of a pre-programmed spiel. And the truth is that you have to let them get through it. That's what they do. But after you've listened to what they want to tell you, find out what you want to know. I think after this interview, we'll link to a couple of educational materials that can prepare attendees as to how to get information from exhibitors in a way that's both respectful but efficient.
Right, and we will definitely link to that in the notes. One thing that you mentioned in the video, and I have begun to do myself personally, is contact people before the event. If you want to arrange a one-on-one, or you want more information, you want to know what they're going to be talking about, contact them in advance.
That's critical. Everybody who is invited to a conference like this, where everybody, including the speakers, are vetted, has been chosen for a reason. And one of the ways that people succeed is by being extremely interested in their own subject. Many people think that a company president won't talk to you. Wrong. Many people think that some of the keynote speakers won't talk to you. Wrong. These are people who are absolutely passionate about what they do, and they would much rather talk to you about what they do than talk to other people about baseball or popular culture. These people are keen. They want to talk to you, take advantage of it.
Interesting. Okay, so that's sort of the pre-game, call it, preparation, and then there's game time, in-game, at the conference. You say, look, manage your time effectively, right? Map out your day.
Absolutely. Before you get to the conference, determine who and what it is that you want to do. So map out the whole 4 days ahead of time as best you can. But then also, when you get up every day, look at that day's schedule. Think about who you didn't get to talk to. Think about what speakers you don't want to hear, and spend that time in the exhibit hall interviewing exhibitors when you don't have so much competition from other attendees. Try and go to the lunches. This idea about a free lunch, this is better than a free lunch. This is a lunch you don't have to pay for that can make you money. And you'll have the opportunity to hear the company's whole message. It's important to use every day very thoroughly.
Good points. And then during the talks, you talk about taking notes, possibly even recording the speeches. One upgrade that we're making to our conference this year is, well, not only are we going to provide MP3s, but we're going to have those transcribed. So take notes if you want, if you're like me, and you really need all of your energy to absorb what the person is saying, then get the MP3s and do that later.
I have to admit, Albert, that despite the fact that I got a lot out of last year's conference by being present, I got more out of the conference by playing the conference 3 times afterward on an MP3. Many times during a speech, although my body was present, my mind was elsewhere for part of it. And I derived enormous benefit from having had my mind prepared by the conference, accessing the information much more thoroughly with the MP3. And when I, after the MP3, went over my conference notes, I learned just how valuable the MP3s could be.
Exactly. And you know, boring talks are obviously bad, but sometimes content-rich talks I find are difficult, because I'll be thinking maybe 3 sentences back on something truly profound that I've heard, and I've missed the next 3 sentences. So that's where those MP3s come in. You talk about, at the end of the day, summarizing the important information. What did you learn that day? What stood out?
I think that's important. Assuming that you intend to go to dinner that evening and maybe have cocktails before dinner, think about summarizing the conference before you go to cocktails, certainly before you go to bed. Some of what was important to you during the day won't be present in your mind in the morning because you'll be getting ready for the next day. So it's important to take down what you learned during the conference and any further instructions that you might have for yourself in terms of contacting people or getting other sources of information. It's important to have a to-do list while it's fresh in your mind.
And then this is an interesting one. As it pertains to investment decisions during the conference, don't act.
I think that's critical. You will be in front of a lot of good salespeople, myself included. Exhibitors will be good salespeople. The speakers will be good salespeople, and they will push your emotional buttons. But investment decisions are better made empirically, not emotionally. So the most important thing to do afterwards is nothing. Wait until the furor engendered by the conference has subsided. Go over your notes. Do whatever follow-on investigations are required. To paraphrase the ex-President Reagan, trust but verify, and then make a decision.
I find it very useful at these conferences as well to establish personal connections with people you want to know. because it's, you're much less likely to be turned down for a meeting if you've prearranged that or made the contact in person at a conference with the person that you're trying to get to know.
I think that's absolutely critical. We won't invest in a company at Sprott if we don't know within the company 2 or 3 people that we can talk to about the company's current operations, so we can understand their news release in context. News releases, in addition to informing you about changes of events in the company, must comply with all sorts of strange regulations, and sometimes they're written in very stilted fashion. Being able to talk to somebody inside the company who knows you and has a good opinion of you from a prior encounter is one real competitive leg up that you have against other investors. So it's important, as you suggest, to make those personal connections and refresh them, keep using them.
And one other point is not necessarily related to resource investing, but it's related to conference participation. We live in an information age. You don't actually have to go to a lot of these things to derive, at least gain the information. However, I found that as a networking tool, beyond just investing, getting to know people, even making friends, but just getting to know people, building the network, conferences have been absolutely essential for me. I remember talking, I think it was last year maybe, to Chris Mayer, who said that the job he has now was born at your conference a couple years ago in a social discussion with his new boss. My current position resulted from interactions that we had at that conference. We can talk about networking just in general and at venues like the Sprott Symposium.
Well, certainly a human sense in making an investment is absolutely critical. Assets are one thing, but they're nothing unless they're beneficiated. And your ability to stay in an investment or make an investment is going to be predicated on your ability to have a good feeling for the people who will become stewards of your money. So what you say with regards to networking is absolutely critical. There will be 950 high net worth individual investors at the conference, and there will be 50 institutional investors at the conference. So don't think for a second that all of the knowledge at the conference is going to come from the speakers or the exhibitors. The truth is, with 1,000 professionals investors in the conference, make friends and network with the other attendees. One thing that you're going to see are going to be things like exhibitors, people like Robert Friedland, Lucas Lundin, Ross Beatty, Bob Quartermain, walking the exhibit hall. Pay attention to who they ask questions of. It's okay to lurk. You paid money to be here. Use your time.
All great tips, Rick. We're going to wrap it up here. I just want to remind people, we have those videos from before, Rick Rule, basically running down this list in detail, going through the steps during the conference and post to get the most out of it. Also, there's a document available. You can look in the show notes. That will be your guide throughout this process. Rick, thank you very much for taking your time to explain all this. And I and everyone watching look forward to seeing you in Vancouver.
Pleasure. Thank you.